Man, I got a lot to talk about. All right, for starters, we're kicking off Memorial Day weekend. Got to be safe out there. It's going to be hot in Vegas. I got to work, sort of. Got to be on call. I'm not sure what my hours are going to be, but we're construction is going hot and heavy, so it's all hands on deck. Now, we got Pride Month coming up, and there is a large push for female Marines, female Astartes. There's tons of articles there cropping up. Not only do they get an entire month, but then there's the month before where you talk about the month, and the month afterwards where you talk about the month, and yet they say that they're oppressed and fighting for their rights. Meanwhile, it's open season on white people. You can just say whatever you want about us, and you just be as racist as you want, and yet they're the oppressed ones? But anyway, I digress. In honor of the female Astartes, I present my artwork that I'm doing today. I'm drawing a female Marine. And I decided to really put some effort into it. This is the second sketch that I've done. And geez, man, it's been years and years and years since I picked the pens up. And I've found that I'm enjoying it so much that I'm just cranking the sketches out. Got tons of them already. I got a tattoo gun. I'm going to break that out. I'm going to start doing my skins again. I've had a few people that wanted me to do tattoos on them. But I don't know why I shelved all that stuff. I put everything into powerlifting, and I kind of just shelved everything else, all my other passions. Now that I've kind of taken powerlifting as far as it can go in this old body, I'm seeing that I'm really enjoying doing other things. Now, does that mean I'm going to stop powerlifting? Hell no. Not while I'm still PRing at meets. It's kind of a weird place to be. I was lifting for a long time, and I didn't really even think about like high-end competing. Of course I want to win and all that stuff. But it wasn't until one day when we were training at Iron Addicts, one of my buddies looked up the records and he goes, "Dude, you're like ranked number one right now." I'm like, "What?" And he showed me the rankings. And this was when I was still natural. I actually, in 2016, I had the national records for the USPA for tested. So natural. I think I was right around I want to say like right around a 1,400 pound total as a natty. And then, 46, somewhere in there, right? 45, 46, I went on TRT, and then, the rest. Now we're at where we're at. About to turn 50, all new records, all new classifications, and I'm trained up. I am trained up and still competitive in the 44 to 49 bracket. I was looking at the numbers in the 50 to 54, and dude, I'm gonna smash them. I'm gonna mangle them, provided, of course, I stay healthy. That's always a challenge. So why would I quit now? Are you kidding me? I have a chance to really just stamp myself, just really be on that list. And then all our little YouTuber buddies can say whatever they want, but they can't go on there and erase me from it. Yeah, they talk a lot of crap, and I'll give them this. As a masters lifter, our totals, if you look at like the top records, they're really not comparable to the open division guys. Well, for example, the two gentlemen that I'll be competing with in October, I mean, they're going for 1,800 to 2,000 pound totals. That's crazy. That's hundreds of pounds more than what I've done. But I don't know. I think that if I keep going the way I'm going, I will be able to chip away. And it was always my goal to not just be the best masters lifter, but I wanted to still be competitive with the younger guys. What does that mean? Am I going to take records? No. In the open division? Nah, not even close. Those guys, I'd have to put 400 pounds on my total to even think about the records in my weight class in the open division. But I want to be able to place on a podium at local meets with the younger guys. And this last meet, not only did I do that, I was the strongest lifter. I had the highest total of the competition, and there was well over 100 lifters there. So I think I'm doing all right. I don't know, these guys, they talk some smack, and it's usually pretty funny, but you can't erase the records, baby. You can't. I'm already on the list. Nothing you can do about it. But I digress. But that's just, so I'm not giving lifting up. But what I am doing is I'm managing my time better. And as I've learned to do that, I realize that I can start doing the other things that I love and spend more time with my kids and get my kids involved. I got an awesome video that I'm making where me and Della were training in the garage today. Oh, man, she's awesome. I had a really awesome lifting session, and I still managed to do some more painting on my Terminators. I got to do some touch-ups to them, and then they will be done. I'm going to break the airbrush out and do the glow effects on their lightning claws and that kind of thing. And they're ready. I have some of that in this video here. I'll show you. I was doing edge highlighting. But, I'm finding that I have time to do that. And now that I'm reigniting the passion for sketching, it's as easy as just grabbing a pencil and a sketch pad, and when you have a few minutes, just start ripping out ideas. When we used to do illustrating comic book art, there was you had your penciler, you had your inker, and then I never did the colors. When I started getting into coloring, I was using computer to do that. I never really did coloring by hand. That's not to say I didn't do it. I didn't do it professionally. I always either penciling or inking. And when you're penciling, you are just ripping out rough sketches, and then the inker comes in and puts it together. And sometimes the penciler and the inker are the same person. So I was pretty proficient with both. So in order for me to get ideas, I would just grab a sketch pad, and I would just, anytime I thought of something, I would sketch it out. And most of the sketches look like crap. If I was flipping through one of my sketch pads that I had from about 10 years ago, and for every 4 or 5 that I started, and as soon as I don't like it, I would go to the next page and do something else. But I still have all the ones that are half finished, and you can kind of see like where it's like, it's interesting. It's almost like you have a thought, you just start sketching it, and it's either going to be turned into a good idea or not. But it's kind of like writing. The best way to write is to just start writing. Just start putting your thoughts on paper, and eventually a coherent stream will come out. Artists get blocked too, and I think that's what happened to me. Is like when I was doing it professionally, because unless you're like really, really good and you can do it to where they pay you full time or you get a lot of commission, you don't make enough money to live off of. And I kind of got to the point where I would get a pad and just hold it and stare at it, and I couldn't put anything down. So the smart thing to do would be to shelve it for a little while, get away from it, and then come back to it. And I just kind of gave up on it and just started focusing on my career, my work. I think I made a decision where I'm just like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to make money. And then I did what every other man does, and I focused on the money, and every job I took was based on the amount of money they were paying me and not necessarily whether I would enjoy it or not. And I've been really, really fortunate, because along the way, I think what it is, it's like I said in the last video, it's hard to follow your passion, For a lot of people, some people don't have like a specific passion to follow. They have no idea what they're going to do. They get out of high school, they go to college, they get some degree in business or whatever, and then they're out in the real world and they have no idea what they're going to do or what they want to do or why they just spent $100,000 at a university for a degree they'll never use. And they're just out there in the world, just like the rest of us. And then some of us have talents and have things that we can, turn into a professional career. But again, those fields are very competitive. Unless you're the best of the best, it's hard to, it's just like YouTube. If you're an artist, you could be a really good artist, just like you could be a really good YouTuber. But to really break out and get to a point where you're self-sufficient, it's just like, it's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of who you know, and it's a lot of, grind. It's like a lot of putting the time in and like really honing your craft. Honestly, I think it's one thing I've learned, it's a lot more about who you know. Because I think what made me successful in construction was my ability to network with people. I mean, right now I could just, I had a buddy of mine offer me a job today, you know. I made friends with as many people as I could, and I just grew my connections. And as those connections grew, my ability to find work grew with it. And I think that's what you have to do with just about anything. It's you really have to. You can be an awesome. You guys seen it. You know, you got these guys that in the trades. They're artisans. They're some of the best craftsmen I've ever seen, and yet they're almost 60 and still working in the field. And you go talk to them, and it's like, well, why don't you ever, like, you know, run a crew or get into supervision or, you know, do something where you're not killing yourself every day. Instead of you doing the work, you could be running a crew, watching them do the work for you. And they just never had the networking skills. They never reached out. They never tried. They just really focused on just doing the work. And there's nothing wrong with that either. Some guys would prefer to do it that way. But, you know, if you want to get ahead in life, it really does come down to who you know. A lot of luck, who you know, and then, of course, honing those skills. Well, why am I saying all this stuff? Well, the reason why is if you do have a passion, if you do have a talent, or you are somebody, like, say you're trying to get a YouTube channel started, and you have maybe the ability to do so, you're one of those guys that has 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers, and you're on the cusp of breaking out. You know, you've got the chops, you've got the scaffolding, you have the skills, but you don't really know how to proceed forward. You know, like starting a business, even maybe like me, I'm trying to eventually open up a gym. I've got the business plan, you know, but you just don't have the direction. You don't know what to do. Don't give up. Don't give up like I did. Right now, it's weird. I am going through a little bit of a midlife crisis because all of my old passions are being reignited. But what's cool about it is I'm not pursuing, you know, the younger girl or the sports car or, you know, the shiny things. Like, I don't care about any of that stuff. I care about like the stuff that I used to enjoy and I had a lot of fun with and I was really good at and I gave up on. Like illustrating, like painting Warhammer figurines, miniatures in general. I used to just paint miniatures. It wasn't necessarily Warhammer, but I gave up on all that stuff. I gave up on all of that stuff, collecting comic books, toys, I could take my son to comic book conventions. We used to dress up and do cosplay. We had a blast. And it had nothing to do, like, for all intents and purposes, if you are enjoying what you're doing and you're surrounded by people that love you, you are the richest person on the planet. And you could be driving a $600 taco wagon that barely runs, and you have way more than that guy next to you in that brand new Mercedes E-Class. You know what I mean? It's like he's in there miserable. He's going to roll his window down and ask you for Grey Poupon, you know, and he hates his life, he hates his wife, and he's married to his job, and he's got all the shiny things, but he's got no passion, he's got no drive, and he's got no purpose. I don't want to be that guy. It's cool. He's got cool stuff. You go to his $1 million apartment and condo downtown, and he'll show you all of his marble, you know, whatever. Who gives a crap? You know, for me, it's all about experiences. It's all about experiences, and this is the things that give you those experiences. And I feel bad that I gave up on it, but I'm really enjoying that. I'm starting to pick it up again. And I found, you know, the reason I didn't pick it up is because I thought it would be too hard. And I was assigning a point to it. Like, what's the point of me going through all that to start illustrating again? Where's it going to get me? But then I had the thought, it doesn't have to get you anywhere. And that's the point. That is the point. You don't have to, if you're doing something for a specific purpose, you're not doing that thing. You're not present. You know, if I'm creating an artwork because I think it's going to make me money, I'm not really putting my passion in that artwork. I'm putting my passion into the money that I think I'm going to make. And that's kind of what I did my entire life, is I chased that dollar. You know, it was all about just, like, you know, making sure that I was able to present myself as somebody that was successful. And then what is that? Monetary. You know, I've got a couple cars, I got a house, and I can support a family. Okay, now what? They're all miserable. You're at work all the time. You never see them. Good job. You know, when I got online this morning, and I was watching YouTube videos trying to get an idea of like what I wanted to talk about, and it was I watched a couple of videos about their this push for female Marines, which is what inspired me to do that artwork. I thought it would be, kind of a little stab because I wanted to make her as sexy as possible just to piss him off. But I don't know, I became really disheartened because the thought just occurred to me. It's like, what happened? Dude, what happened? I feel like I woke up one day and it just I'm in an alternate universe where there is such a push for this small outlier group to be seen at the highest levels across the board in everything, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, anything, social media, all the TV shows, all the movies, all the comic books, all the tabletop games, all the video games. It's got to be trans, it's got to be LGBT, whatever. I can't even keep up with the acronyms, to be honest with you. And at the expense of pushing away everything that came before it, and they're, like beauty, what we see as beautiful, it's almost like it angers. I think that it angers them that we don't find them attractive. So they're making everything ugly. You notice that? You ever notice? Like, look at the new Warhammer figurines, like the female ones. They all look like they could be men. You could easily put those little heads that glue on the models onto a male model, and it would not look out of place. They're making everything ugly. I've done videos on it, and I just get to the point where it's like, what is the point? Like, what am I fighting? Is it doesn't matter. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, and they're just gonna crap on it. So, just like a Gen Xer, I'm just going to grab my stuff and go to my corner and just eke out my existence and just leave me alone. Get off my lawn, I got my stuff. Just go away. I don't want to be bothered. But then I thought about it. I'm like, well, that's how we got in this mess in the first place. And I feel like I have to say something. But then, it comes at the expense of... I have a nephew, and he's trans. And I'm sure he's probably seen my videos, and he probably thinks that I hate him. And I absolutely do not. I love him. Her. I keep screwing up. My sister gets mad at me. Her name is Silver, and I love her very much. And I have issues with the hormone thing because I think she is too young to be messing with her endocrine system. And when I tried to tell her that, my sister told me, one of my sisters lost her mind and said that, like I was a bigot or whatever. The usual. She's liberal. And it's like, no, when you try to express genuine care for somebody and you present them with factual information that goes against the narrative, and you're immediately just called hateful, it's like, what do you do with that? There's nothing in the world, like, I don't agree with her choices. I absolutely do not, but that does not mean I would not be there for her, and that I don't love her, and she's not my niece. Nephew. That will never change. The door is always open. You don't do that to family members. Absolutely not. And I will go out of my way to show her the respect that she wants, and I'll call her whatever she wants. And there's nothing that would keep us from hanging together or participating or doing anything. I just don't. I think her ideology is screwed because what it's become is a religion. You have to separate yourself from that. I consider myself a Christian, but I do not go to church because I think the church is satanic. That's bad. That doesn't change the word in the Bible. Well, it's the same thing about, what she's going through. She's making personal decisions for herself, which I disagree with, but hey, it's her life, and she's entitled to her experience. But that doesn't mean she has to be attached to this ideology that's forcing itself upon the rest of us. I consider it the rape of the natural world, to be honest with you. That's what it feels like. It feels like we're being violated against our will. And if we say anything about it, we're ostracized for it. And I want people to understand that you can separate the individual from the ideology. You can be against something but not be against the person. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, But it's my way of saying, like, hey, I accept everyone for who they are, and I have no problems with the personal choices you make. We can still be friends. We can break bread. We can hang out. And, hey, we might even have a good time because we probably have a lot in common. You never know. But I don't need to take your cause up. I don't have to fly your flag, and I don't have to endorse your mental illness any more than you need to endorse mine. Powerlifting, you could make a very good argument that I suffer from body dysmorphia and I've got some mental issues to where I'm trying to, like, destroy my body to get a record no one's going to care about. Like, that's not the most sane thing in the world, and I'm going to do it anyways because I'm passionate about it. Well, there's your argument right there, but that doesn't mean if you go to the gym with me, I'm going to force you to friggin' do, squat 3 times your body weight. It's all or nothing, damn it. Yeah, I don't know, that's the only analogy I could come up with. It's like we can have our choices. That's the beauty of America, is it is a free country. And you are free to choose what you want for yourself. And as a Marine veteran, I will fight for your right to do so. Absolutely 100%. But when you start pushing your shit on me and you start taking my rights away, we got a problem, kiddo. Alright, that's enough out of me. I gotta get to work. I love you guys. I'll see you on the battlefield.